Today, pre-calculus students, on Wednesday the 11th. Grab your notebooks, grab your books, pencils, calculators. Be ready to work hard today. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're finishing up your tests, those that are not finished, and I hope you're staying on top of the videos. You should have listened to a video yesterday. It was not extremely difficult, long, but not difficult, and I hope you're continuing to work hard. Here are some announcements you need to pay attention to. Announcement number one, there will be a quiz to take this weekend. You do understand that, so be ready for that. Don't be shocked by that, and hopefully you'll do well on that quiz. Number two, I have now heard from everyone on their integrity sheets, so thank you very much for that. Number three, I really wanted your test done by Monday or Tuesday, as I told you in class on Monday, but I did allow for them to be completed by Friday, so I need some communication from you three young men letting me know when you're finished. I have contacted your parents and told them exactly what I told you I would say, that I preferred them being done by Monday or Tuesday, but I allowed you until Friday. And if I've not heard from some of you by Friday, I'm going to email your parents and let them know. Please don't get behind. Guys, listen to me. Homeschool is awesome. We do it. We love it, okay? But it's easy to get behind, and that's not real school. If you were in real school, you'd go to class every day, 50 minutes of notes, then 30 to 45 minutes of homework at night, etc. Now, I'm not condoning that. I'm just saying that you have your math you need to do every day. So please don't get behind. If you do, I don't get mad. It really hurts you. So please please be careful there. And I guess that's basically it. Here's today's heading. Notice the smiley face right here. We are going to be using trig functions, and that should be plural. I'm going to fix that right now. Using trig functions to solve word problems, and that's going to be tough, okay? We are really going to be looking at some pretty difficult problems, and they will get much more difficult as the chapter goes on. But here we go. We're going to look today at solving word problems using trig functions. The lesson number is 5.2, and I encourage you to put the date down if you do that. Today's date is the 11th, 9/11/13. Okay? Let me give you some closure and a little bit of a heads up of the future. First of all, today in class, I'm going to work three word problems for you. That's not too bad. Shouldn't take too long. Then I'm going to turn you loose on a homework assignment that's actually pretty big, but I want to talk to you about that because it's not as bad as it sounds. Page 454. You don't need to write this down now. You'll get this later at the end of the session. Actually, I've got the wrong sheet here. I apologize. So I've got to find that. Give me just a second. Sorry for being a little disorganized. And again, don't write this down. You'll get this at the end of the video today, but it's page 471, numbers 1 through 11. And I think that's also wrong. You know what? My philosophy is if you're going to mess up really good. So I'm definitely adhering to my own philosophy. Page 454, 7 through 37 odd. And you're going to skip one of those. I'm not sure which one. I think it's number 19, number 29. So skip number 29. Now, if you'll look, that's a lot of problems. That's 15 problems. These take a long time. But here's the good news. I'm not teaching tomorrow on Thursday. I am not teaching you anything new on Thursday. So I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to give you a big homework assignment to work on. I'm going to tell you, I don't think you're making a very good decision if you save this whole assignment for Thursday, okay? So I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to give you this homework assignment at the end of the hour. Work on, I would try to get half of it done today, and then tomorrow, Thursday, go ahead and log on to the website, and you'll see that I'll have a help video by then. So the help video for these problems right here is not posted yet, and it will not be posted until Thursday. But you can go ahead and start working on these problems. Work as many as you can today, and then tomorrow, Thursday, there'll be no new notes for you to take. I'm just going to have a help video up for you so you can do all of these problems and check them and have them all done by Thursday, and then Friday I will have a new lesson for you. So it's very, very important. I'm giving you 2 days to work these. You had better work these. I'm telling you guys, there are so many curveballs these problems are going to throw at you. It's going to make you think, and you need to do these homework problems. So I'm giving you 2 days to do those. So notes today and this homework, and then tomorrow you can finish this homework, and there'll be a help video tomorrow for you to look at to help you correct the ones that you've missed and get a little help, okay? So without any more hesitation, let's go ahead and get started with one of our 3-word problems, okay? Go ahead and turn your books to page 448. I'm going to go pretty fast. Pause the video when you need to. Okay, I'm going to read the problem. You can follow along in your book. Hiking at the Grand Canyon, a backpacker hiking east along the north rim of the Grand Canyon notices an unusual rock formation across the canyon. She decides to continue watching the landmark while she hikes. In 2 hours, she has hiked 66.2 miles due east, and the landmark is still visible, but it's at approximately a 50-degree angle to the north rim. Now, if you'll look in your book, you'll see they've given you a picture here. Now, this problem's not too hard because they've given you a picture to look at, okay? And so if I can quickly enlarge this picture for you, if you'll look in your book there, you will see here's where the lady is. See her? She started over here. She was standing right here, and she looked across the canyon, and she saw this weird rock formation, and then she walked for 2 hours, and when she was done walking for 2 hours, she had traveled 6.2 miles, okay? And then the problem says when she looked across at this rock formation, the angle that was formed from the trail she had walked to the angle of the line of vision was 50 degrees. So the reason this problem is not too difficult is they've basically drawn the triangle for you, okay? So when they draw the triangle for you, really guys, that makes the problem pretty easy, to be honest with you, okay? So let's go ahead and read now. If you'll look in the book, I didn't type it here. If you look at the book, it asks the following questions. It first of all asks what the distance is. Letter A, how many miles is she from the rock formation? So here she stands. Do you see that? Here's the rock formation. So they want to know the length of this line right here. I'm going to go ahead and redo that, and I'm going to do that in red. So they want to know this length right here, and in your book, if you'll look, where they call that side C, okay? Then look at letter B under number 3 in your book. It says, how far is it across the canyon from her starting point? Now, this is where she started, and you go straight across the canyon, and they want to know that distance. I've done that in red also. It's letter B. So if it's okay with you guys, really what I can do is just come over here. I can draw the triangle right over here. There's the triangle. You can see it's not that hard. They've given you everything you need. This is 6.2 miles. This is 50 degrees. And they want you to simply find side C and side B. We did a bunch of those yesterday. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can't pull this to another page right here. And let's grab this also and pull that over there. And there's our triangle, all right? So now, all that we're going to do is we're now going to find sides B and C. Now, please watch carefully how I do this. Look, students, if I knew the length of 2 sides and I was missing only one, I could use good old Pythagorean's theorem. L squared plus L squared equals 8 squared. But I don't know 2 sides. I only know one side, 6.2. But I do know an angle. Now, remember how to use trig functions, okay? We've talked about this. I can use sine, cosine, or tangent. Since I do have a what type of triangle? A right triangle. I can use sine, cosine, or tangent to help me to find B or C. Now, you don't want 2 unknowns, and based on this angle right here, this is my opposite side, this is my hypotenuse, and this is my adjacent. Look, guys, you don't want to use sine because the sine of 50 is opposite over hypotenuse, right? And that would be 2 unknowns, B over C. So we don't want to use sine. So I'm going to go ahead and use, you could use tangent. In my notes, I chose to use cosine, so that's what I'm going to use. So the cosine of 50 degrees equals what? Adjacent, 6.2, over hypotenuse. Your hypotenuse is C. Now, what I taught you students to do when you're not missing the angle, but you're missing one of the parts of your fraction, I've taught you to multiply both sides of your fraction by the bottom of the fraction. Now, in this case, the bottom of the fraction is C. So I'm going to multiply this side by C, and I'm going to multiply this side by C. Now, when I do that, these C's cancel, and I'm left with 6.2. Over here, I have C times cosine of 50. Now think about it, students. If I have c times cosine of 50 and I want to get c by itself, then I'm going to divide both sides by the cosine of 50. So I divide one side by the cosine of 50, divide the other side by the cosine of 50, and I'm left with c equals 6.2 over cosine of 50. Now make sure you're in the degree mode, and if you are, you can now go ahead and type in 6.2, then hit divided by, and then cosine of 50, enter, and you should get this right here for c. You should get 9.6, and of course we're dealing with miles, so now you know c is 9.6. There we go. So now you found the distance from where she is to that strange rock formation. Now, I know two sides. I know one side, two sides. So now I can use Pythagorean's theorem. Notice I know a leg and I know the hypotenuse. I'm missing a leg. So one of my legs is b squared. My other leg is 6.2 squared. My hypotenuse is 9.6, so I put squared. Now please listen to me carefully. You're big math students. I don't have to do all these steps for you. If you take 6.2 squared and get some number right here, and then take 9.6 squared and get some number here, you then take this number, bring it to the other side and make it negative. When you do all of that, you will get 53.72. 53.72. And now if you take the square root of that, take the square root of both sides, the square root of b squared is b, and the square root of 53.72 is 7.3. So now you know the length from where she first was across the canyon to the rock formation is 7.3 miles. So there, we answered both questions. All right, not too difficult because they gave us a diagram. All right, now let's move on to the next problem. The next problem is in your book. Go ahead and turn to page 452, that's fine. And they give you a picture, but I've decided to work it out without the picture because you guys need to see some examples in which you have to draw the picture on your own. So go ahead and turn to page 452 and let's take a look at this problem. Now, before we start this problem, you need to learn how to draw bearings. And I'm going to teach you right now. So just pretend for a second we're not working this word problem. Somewhere off to the side in your notes, I want you to write down some random bearings and we're going to practice. If I said north, my computer's messing up, hold on one second, north 38 degrees east, I want to teach you how to draw that. You start with the first direction. The first direction is north. So here's your point. You draw an imaginary dotted line going north. Okay, that's easy, isn't it? I mean, what was the first? Let me pause and explain what we're doing. In these word problems, they're going to give you bearings, like right here. A second ranger sights the same fire at a bearing of this. You've got to know how to write those, so I'm teaching you now what they mean, okay? So here's the point we start at, and by the way, that point will be given to you, so don't worry about that. It says north 38 east. So you draw an imaginary auxiliary line north, because it says north, and then you can either rotate to the east or you can rotate to the west. Now in this problem, we're going to rotate to the east. Why? Because it says east. If it said west right here, we would rotate west. Now don't forget your compass rose. North is up here, south is down here, east is here, and west is here. I think you guys probably know that by now, but if you don't, I don't mind putting that up there for you. So I'm going to rotate 38 degrees east. So I draw my north line, and then I rotate about 38 degrees. Now 38 degrees, remember if I said 90 degrees, I'd rotate all the way down to here and go like that. That's 90 degrees. So if that's 90, 38, 45 is about half. So we're looking at 38. So I would rotate about right there and stop and then draw your line. And that's your bearing right there, this line right here. There you go. And what angle do you write in here? 38 degrees. So let's go over it again. The first letter tells you where to draw your auxiliary line. The second letter tells you how to rotate, either east or west. Now you're welcome to watch or take notes on this, but I'm going to practice on a couple more. Let's say I wanted to do a bearing of south, I don't know, 75 degrees west. All right, and it's this point right here. They'll give you the point. Okay, so from that point, I'm going to draw an imaginary dotted line directly south. Doesn't matter how long, just draw it long enough that you feel comfortable. Why did I go south? Because the first letter is south. Then from this angle, I can either rotate east or I can rotate west. Well, if you'll look at the bearing, the letter is west, so I know I'm going to rotate this way. Now, how far am I going to rotate? Well, if you'll look right here, it says 75 degrees. Now, this is 90 right here. Okay, if I rotate it all the way to there, that's 90. So I don't want to go that far, but 75 would probably be about right there. So I'm going to rotate to about right there and then draw my bearing. And there it is. So this angle right here would be 75 degrees. Okay? I was going to do some more. I think that should do it for now. You'll get a lot of practice on these on your word problems and your homework. Contain your excitement and also in this problem here. All right? Now I know in the book they give you a picture. I'm going to pretend we don't have that picture, and I'm just going to work it out from scratch. And I would encourage you to do the same thing. Let's just look at the problem and try to work it out. A forest ranger at point A sights a fire directly south. Now don't worry about your drawings being perfect. Just go ahead and put point A, there's the firefighter, and he sees a fire directly south. So I'm going to draw a line going straight south. Doesn't matter how long, just draw it long enough to get a pretty good picture. And I'm going to put the word fire there. So there's my fire. Okay? A second ranger at point B. Now hold it. Where's point B? 7.5 miles east. Now really they should have written this problem a little better. It should say 7.5 miles east of the other ranger, because I don't know if they're saying he's 7.5 miles east of the fire or 7.5 miles east of the ranger, but either way it is east of the ranger. So the second ranger is at point B and he's 7.5 miles east of the other ranger. So here's the other ranger. I'm going to go east. That's what it says. It says the other ranger is 7.5 miles east. So there we go. And this is Ranger B. I guess we'll call him Ranger Bob. And he's 7.5 miles away. Do you see what I've done? Here's Ranger A, Alan, I guess. And straight down south is the fire, and straight east is the ranger. Now look at this. The ranger at point B sights the same fire, look at this, at a bearing of, okay, so here's your point, a bearing of south. So we draw a dotted line going south like this. Do you see that? Just like I taught you. And then west, 27 degrees, 23 minutes. Now, I like using decimals in these problems instead of minutes and seconds, so I have taught you how to convert these. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, if you convert this, it would actually be 27, I'll just go ahead and do it for you, 27.38. Okay, so from this point, I went down south. Now look at your bearing. Then I'm going to rotate west 27.38 degrees, like that. And then you draw your line. And it should, if you've done it correctly, your line should hit here and then go down to the fire. So this, and it should hit right here at the fire. So this angle right here, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this arrow. It's a little bit in the way. So this angle right here is 27.38 degrees. This angle right here. There we go. Okay? I know that's not super easy, but that's how you do it. Now, how far from A is the fire? So here's the distance they want. How far from A is the fire? So they want this distance right here. That's what we're looking for. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put a what there? X. That's what I'm looking for. Now, Mr. Earhart, we don't have a lot of information here. All we have is a right angle. We don't know this angle, question mark. We don't know this angle, question mark. We only know one side. I think you know a little more than you think you know. Let me get a color of blue here and show you something. Everybody watching? See this line right here I'm highlighting in blue? See that? That was east. And then I went straight south. So if I'm going east and south, isn't that a right angle right there? It's okay to say yes. I mean, it sure is. You went straight to the right and straight down. That's a right angle. Now hold it. Think about that. If that's the right angle, that means this angle here with one dot and this angle here with two dots, those two angles do have to add up to 90. So I really can find this angle right here by simply taking 90 degrees and subtracting 27.38. And if I do that, you're going to come up with 62.62. So this angle here is 62.62 degrees. All right? Now, do you not see what you have? I'm going to highlight it in red for you. You have a right triangle. Look. You have a right triangle, and you know an angle on the inside, guys. There it is. Look. You know this angle right here. So you do have a right triangle. Here's your right angle. You know an angle, 62.62. So circle it. Go straight across. This is your what side? Opposite. Go straight across. This is your what side? Hypotenuse. This is your adjacent. Now, students, we definitely don't want to use opposite and hypotenuse. That's two unknowns, right? So I'm going to use opposite and adjacent. Opposite and adjacent. Because I want to know, this is my unknown right here, students. Okay? This is what I'm trying to find. This is my x right here. And if I'm trying to find this side, then I've got to use opposite and adjacent. Well, Mr. Earhart, why don't you use adjacent and hypotenuse? I could do that, but if I did that, I would be solving for hypotenuse. I don't want to solve for the hypotenuse. I want to solve for this side right here. And the name of this side is the opposite side. And the other side that I know is adjacent. So what I'm going to have to use is the formula that has opposite and adjacent. And if you know your trig functions, by now you should. SOHCAHTOA, you would know it's tangent. So tangent of 62.62 equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 7.5. Now, I've taught you when you're missing one of the parts of your fraction like this, what you do is you multiply both sides by the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply this side by 7.5, and I'm going to multiply this side by 7.5 equals, these cancel, and I'm left with x, and over here I have 7.5 tangent of 62.62. Now with your calculator, if you type in 7.5 tangent 62.62, you will get 14.5 equals x. So now you know the length of this side, 14.5. Now what are we dealing with? Miles? Let's see. Yeah, miles. 7.5 miles. So this would be 14.5 miles. That's a big help to a ranger for him to know how far away a fire is. So that's pretty cool way to do that. Okay, last problem, and we're done. Not a very long video. Definitely a blurry picture, but not a long video. Okay, go ahead and turn to page 451. Look at example 6. And this is actually true science. They do this, okay? Weather stations, different places have these big lights they use to measure cloud height. So pretty cool. Here's trigonometry and math being used in everyday life. To measure cloud height at night, a vertical beam of light is directed on a spot on the cloud. They already know that there's a point 135 feet away from the light source. So they know that point right there. I'm circling right now. They already measured that's 135 feet away. So they know that distance right there. The angle of elevation to the spot is found to be 67.35 degrees. Find the height of the cloud. Now, remember how the last problem I had to stop and teach you how to find bearings? Well, now I want to stop and talk about angles of depression and angles of depression. So would you please just take a sidebar in your notes somewhere. I want to show you how you draw an angle of elevation. Are you ready? If I said we had an angle of elevation of 55 degrees, you always draw a horizontal line, always. Okay, that's your boundary use. And then you rotate up 55 degrees. Now think about it. If the line was going straight up like this, that would be a 90-degree rotation. We don't want 90, we want 55. So 55 would be just about like that. Put your 55 degrees right here, and guess what? That's your angle of elevation. It's that easy, guys. Always draw a horizontal line, then draw a line going upward. Why upward, Mr. Earhart? Because it's an angle of elevation. Elevation means going upward, okay? All right. Now, what about an angle of depression? This problem does not talk about angles of depression, but we have them. Angles of depression are really easy. You draw a horizontal line, and then you simply draw your angle of depression. So if I said we had an angle of depression of 60 degrees, you draw your horizontal line, and then draw your angle of depression. By the way, you might be saying, Mr. Earhart, do you draw your 60 degrees like this? Or would you draw your 60 degrees like this and put the 60 here? Or would you draw it like this and put the 60 degrees here? It doesn't matter. Just set it up so it makes sense with the word problem, okay? Same thing with angles of elevation. It doesn't matter, whether you draw the 55 degrees like this or if you drew it like that. Okay, so if you're thinking, that's a good question, but it doesn't matter. So an angle of depression of 60 degrees, you draw your horizontal, and then you go down. And you go down about 60 degrees. And there you go. You drew an angle of depression. Okay, so having said that, let's go ahead and do the problem now. And actually, I'm glad they give us the picture, but you really didn't need this. You could have drawn this on your own. I mean, this is not difficult, guys. Look, I mean, they tell you, let me go ahead and pull this down and read it again. I mean, look, they tell you from a point 135 feet away from the light source, the angle of elevation is this. So they tell you the angle of elevation is from the light source. So if you have an angle of elevation, you first draw your horizontal line like I just taught you. So there's your horizontal line. And then from there, you rotate up and you draw your line going up. And of course, the angle is going to be 67.35. And there's the beam of light going straight up in the air. And they shoot that straight up in the air. Okay, and then they see what the angle of elevation is where it hits, and they can measure the ceiling height of the clouds right there. So it's a pretty cool thing that they do. Let me slide this back down, and we will now solve the problem. So hopefully you understood how to find angles of elevation and angles of depression. So with that in mind, here's our triangle right here, and so now we're able to work with it. The question is, find the heights of the clouds. So we're trying to find this height right here. Now I do have a right triangle. There's my right angle. I do know this side here, and I do have an angle right here. So there's my angle right there. So I go straight across. This is my opposite side. Here's my right angle. Go straight across. This is your hypotenuse, and this is your adjacent side. Now, students, I have a question for you. Are we trying to find the length of the hypotenuse? No. Are we trying to find the length of h right here? Right here? Yes. And do I know this side right here? Yes. So I'm trying to find this side. It's opposite. I know this side. It's adjacent. So I want to use a trig function that has opposite and adjacent. Well, guys, it's tangent, TOA, SOHCAHTOA. So the tangent of 67.35 equals opposite, that's h, over adjacent, that's 135. Now I've taught you what to do. You multiply both sides by the bottom of the fraction. In this case, it's 135. So if I multiply this side by 135, they cancel, leaving you with h. And if I multiply this side over here by 135, I would have 135 tangent of 67.35. And now type into your calculator 135 times tangent 67.35 equals h. Okay? And if you do that correctly, you'll get 324 feet. And I know I'm dealing with feet because right here my measurement was 135 feet. So 324 feet equals your height. So there you go. Now the weather guys know how high up the ceiling cloud is, 324 feet. Okay? Well, you really need to take my advice on this, please. I hope it doesn't sound arrogant, but look, guys, you need to do this homework assignment. This is 15 problems, 7 through 37 odd, skip number 29. You must do this homework assignment. Sorry for yawning. That's really, really, really imperative that you do this assignment. And I would not save it all for tomorrow. If you do, it's going to be really rough. I would start working on about half of this today. And even though there's no homework video for you to watch to find your mistakes, you can still check your odds in the back of the book, right? And then mark the ones you're missing. And then you'll be ready to watch the video tomorrow. And then finish the rest of it tomorrow. And also, go through and pick some of the easy ones. I mean, like, look at number 17. They got the triangle drawn for you. Number 19, the triangle's drawn for you. 21, the triangle's drawn for you, etc., etc. Most of them do have a triangle drawn for you. So go through and do quite a few of these, and then save the rest for tomorrow. I will not teach anything new tomorrow. And so the video you're going to watch tomorrow, by the way, will be called Pre-Cal. And what do I usually put? I'm kind of drawing a blank. It would be, let's see. It's the date that you're supposed to watch it. Now, usually, it's the same day you're given notes. We're going to call it Pre-Cal September, and we're going to put tomorrow's date. That'd be the 12th. So Pre-Cal September 12th homework, okay? So even though I'm giving you the homework today on the 11th, the video you want to watch to get homework help for this right here will be Pre-Cal September 12th homework, okay? Call or email like crazy. Call me or email me if you're having any problems. I'm here to help you. Have a good day.